At first glance, it may not seem like a bus and a bike have very much in common, but in fact, they share a lot of things.
Both can reduce the number of cars on our roads and cut fuel usage.
Both are usually in the same space on the roadway.
The right lane.
Both have slower than average speeds than other vehicles on the road.
Perhaps the greatest thing that buses and bicycles share is that they're both operated by people.
People who share the same rights and responsibilities on the road.
People who face challenges as they get from point A to point B.
People who share a high stake in safety and make choices that can promote or compromise that safety.
This video is designed to help bus operators and bicyclists make safe choices in traffic, preventing crashes and saving lives. In Chicago,
we share the road.
When buses and bikes are sharing road space, there are a number of things to keep in mind. Bicyclists have the right to ride in the street, even if there are no marked bike lanes. Bicyclists typically position themselves just to the right of faster-moving traffic on the roadway.
Buses constantly move in and out of traffic, usually traveling in the right lane and pulling over to the right to make service stops. This means that bicyclists and bus operators share the same space on the road, constantly crossing paths. Bus operators, don't drive in bike lanes unless you are about to pull into a service stop or preparing to turn. Always assume that bicyclists could be on your right. Always use your turn signal when getting ready to pull over. Check your mirror. If you see a bicyclist parallel to the bus, slow down and let them get ahead of you before pulling over. Remember that when car traffic backs up, bicyclists often have a clear path to proceed quite quickly on your right side.
Bicyclists, remember that buses are in the business of stopping, and if you think a bus in front of you might stop, play it safe. Slow down and let the bus pull over in front of you. You can either wait for them to complete the service stop and proceed behind them, or merge with moving traffic and pass them on the left. Never pass a bus on the right. Bicyclists should position themselves in a lane so that they can be seen well by all other traffic and avoid hazards at the roadside. Biking in the gutter area or very close to the curb poses many dangers for a bike rider. There are metal grates to avoid, along with all sorts of debris. And riding next to parked cars puts you at risk of being hit by an opening car door. Avoid putting yourself in a position where you'll need to make any sudden movements. Swerving or any sudden maneuver won't give the bus operator time to react. Ride predictably and establish your position at least 2 feet from the curb and 3 feet from the door zone.
If you do see a bicyclist riding close to the curb or next to the parked cars, remember that the bike rider may suddenly swerve into traffic to avoid something. Bus operators should expect and respect cyclists who position themselves safely on the roadway.
A little bit about passing. Whether it's a bus passing a bike or a bike passing a bus, this is a time when extra care is needed.
Bus operators, when passing a bicyclist on the road, maintain steady speed and do not accelerate. Remember that you must allow safe clearance between your bus and a bike. That's a minimum of 3 feet. If traffic allows, leave more space. If there isn't enough room for you to pass, you must slow down, stop, and wait for clearance.
Cyclists, when you are passing a bus, you must also leave at least 3 feet between your bike and the bus.
If there's about 3 feet of space between the bus and the bike should be visible in the mirrors. Operators, make sure your mirrors are adjusted so you can see the bikes traveling on either side of your bus.
Again, bicyclists should never pass a bus on the right. A bus moving toward the curb could easily knock you over. And of course, passing on the right endangers people getting on and off the bus. Always merge with traffic to pass on the left. Never split lanes to get ahead of a bus. Be careful. You know that at some point the bus is going to leave the bus stop and enter traffic. Remain visible and alert.
Bus operators, if you are about to pass a cyclist, do not assume that they will hear the bus approaching. Remember, the engine is in the rear of the bus. It is likely that they will not hear the bus until it is beside them. This can be very startling. Another reason to leave is safe clearance. Remember the bike rider you have just passed. Customers often request a stop just as the bus passes a cyclist. As you signal and before you move to the right, make sure you know where the bike rider is. Do not move to the right if there is any possibility that they will be positioned between your bus and the curb. The better practice is to keep the bicyclist in front of you unless you are absolutely certain that you can pass safely. Do not stop shortly after passing. Allowing the biker to stay in front of you keeps them visible and in a safe location when you need to make a safe stop.
For the bike rider, if the bus stays behind you, understand that this is for your own safety. Ride at your pace and remain in a well-visible portion of the lane. But if the bus does pass you, stay alert and watch to see if the bus is going to stop.
Intersections can be a major conflict point for bus operators and bicyclists.
At many busy intersections, bike lanes end to allow for turn lanes, meaning cyclists must merge with motorized traffic.
Bus operators, be aware of this and yield to merging bicyclists. Give them plenty of room.
To a bike rider, waiting in traffic at an intersection can be very stressful and dangerous. While waiting for a green light, we're often breathing a lot of exhaust. We're less visible to drivers because we're surrounded by vehicles, and those vehicles can accelerate much faster than we can as soon as the signal changes. For these reasons, a lot of cyclists feel safer waiting at the front of the line where they are more visible to motorists.
Bus operators, be aware of cyclists moving through stopped traffic to the front of the intersection on either side of your bus. Be sure to check your mirrors before you pull back into traffic. Remember, safety first.
And cyclists, if you do choose to move up to the front for safety, don't put yourself at greater risk in the process of getting there. Don't split lanes to get ahead. Stay at least 3 feet from any vehicle. Be patient and never pass a bus on the right.
One of the most important things for both bike riders and bus operators to understand is how buses turn. Watch how a bus makes a right turn. The bus operator should deploy a right turn signal. In order to avoid having the rear wheels drive over the curb, a bus needs to angle out at least 10 feet before beginning the actual turn.
Bike riders, this can look like the bus is going straight through the intersection. Look for the bus operator's turn signals and never position yourself to the right of a bus at an intersection. Be patient, be sure of the operator's intent. Even if the bus is going straight, it might not merge with traffic. Instead, it could pull over at a far side service stop. You might not realize the bus operator's intention until you get cut off at the curb. So ride defensively and either wait behind the bus or merge with traffic to pass on the left.
Bus operators, assume it is possible cyclists may be approaching on your right. Always signal before turning or pulling over. Look in your mirror and look through the door and side windows. If you see a cyclist between your bus and the curb, slow down or stop. Let them get ahead of you before proceeding. Just as you're about to begin the actual turning maneuver, check again.
Bicyclists, when it comes to intersections, one of the most dangerous things you can do is turn right across the path of a bus. You never know when the bus will leave the curb and start pulling out into traffic. And you're not just endangering yourself. If the bus operator has to slam on the brakes, you're endangering any standing passengers. You're also endangering pedestrians who might be starting to cross the street in front of the bus. Wait for the bus to pass before turning, and always signal your intent to turn.
Let's talk about left turns. When a bus makes a left turn, it has to cross a path of oncoming traffic. The operator has to watch to make sure traffic is cleared. However, sometimes the cars and trucks that the bus operator is watching can hide a bike rider from the bus operator's view. When the oncoming traffic clears, pause and make sure that there is no approaching bike that was hidden in traffic. And check the sidewalk area for kids on bikes. Another thing to remember when turning is the bike rack in front of the bus. Having a bike rack extended will change the turning radius. You will need more room to make a turn. Make sure you allow for added distance. And be careful not to block crosswalks with the bike rack.
Bike and ride racks are great. They let cyclists take a break and ride the bus for a part of a longer trip. They're really convenient during bad weather or if your bike breaks down unexpectedly, and there's no additional charge to use them. Here's how. First, remove any items that could fall off your bike. Don't leave things like bags and bike locks hanging from any part of the bike. As the bus approaches, stay on the curb until it comes to a complete stop. Make eye contact with the bus operator.
Operators, place the bus in neutral and apply the parking brake before allowing customers to store their bikes or remove them from the bike rack.
Lower the rack by squeezing the handle. Lift your bicycle so that it fits in the empty wheel well. Load the rack nearest the bus first with the front wheel facing the curb. Swing the support arm over the front of the tire to hold the bicycle in place. Do not lock your bike to the rack.
Operators, pay attention while the cyclist loads his or her bicycle onto the rack. Make sure it is properly loaded before proceeding. Offer verbal assistance to any customers who are unfamiliar with the procedure. When you have a bike on the rack, remember that a customer is going to exit and walk in front of the bus to unload the bike. Watch for this customer and watch for anyone who may step in front of the bus to store their bike or remove it from the rack.
If you have your bike on the rack, keep an eye on it. Help the bus operator ensure your safety. As you leave the bus, exit from the front door and tell the operator you will be removing your bike from the rack.
Hi, I'm getting my bike off the rack.
Okay, watch your step and have a great day, sir.
Thank you very much. You have a good one.
You do the same.
Raise the rack back up when it's empty.
Communication is the key to safety. A friendly reminder, a turn signal, a wave, or even a smile can prevent a dangerous situation.
Treating each other with courtesy,
Respect,
and patience will help ensure that we all get where we're going safely.
working together to make both bus and bike transportation safe
Is a job we all share.
As a professional operator, you must always keep 360 degrees of awareness around your vehicle to prevent collisions, especially with pedestrians and bicyclists. Pedestrians and bicyclists are more vulnerable and are no match against a transit or paratransit vehicle. When driving your vehicle around pedestrians and bicyclists, you have to use extra precautions. Slow down and keep your foot over your brake and expect the unexpected. Use your horn to communicate and make sure they see your vehicle. Many pedestrians are distracted and not aware of what is going on around them. Children are especially vulnerable and can dart out into traffic without knowing the dangers of doing so. Pedestrians and bicyclists are not confined to certain areas and can be present anywhere on the road. Some of the more common areas you will need to be cautious at are intersections and school zones, or anywhere else there are large amounts of pedestrian traffic. As the professional operator, we need to constantly scan your environment and avoid fixed stairs. Even if the route is familiar, the conditions and potential hazards are always changing. Always yield the right of way to pedestrians and be especially aware of them while turning. Watch for pedestrians stepping into the street, especially from blind spots. Give pedestrians a wide margin of safety. Double-check your off-track and tail swing areas midway through turns at intersections. Remember to always rock and roll in your seat looking for pedestrians and bicyclists. Square your turns rather than a sweeping turn. Walk the bus through the turn, establishing speed control of no more than 3 to 4 miles per hour while making your turns. This gives you the ability to safely respond to pedestrian hazards if they unexpectedly step into the street. Always come to a complete stop at stop signs. Look left, right, left to clear the intersection or crosswalk before proceeding. Wait 3 seconds from when the light turns green to proceed through an intersection. Cover your brake through intersections and when pedestrians are close to your vehicle. Be prepared to stop. Pedestrians and cyclists are increasingly distracted. Assume they don't or can't see you and that they won't act irrationally. Be prepared to stop. Be extra cautious during sunrise or dusk, as well as adverse weather. Pedestrians can be hard to see during these times. Remember that you are the professional operator. You have to drive safe for yourself, and for the people around you that aren't doing so. You have to see the things around you and get 360 degrees of awareness. A safe driver is a smart driver. By following these tips, you can safely identify and avoid potentially risky scenarios. And as a general rule, remember to always yield right away to pedestrians when you're behind the wheel. Thank you.
It's no secret that substance abuse is a hot topic in the world today. You hear about it all the time, on the news, on the radio, even in your favorite shows. So yeah, hearing about substance abuse might not shock you, but did you know that almost 70% of all illicit drug users are employed? That's right, as many as 10 million workers are currently using illegal drugs. And 1 in 12 full-time employees report using illegal drugs. In other words, substance abuse in the workplace is a lot more common than you think. Workplace substance abuse is defined as a use of any substance that can negatively affect a person's judgment and performance on the job. It's coming to work impaired or taking substances on the job. But it's important to keep in mind that substance abuse doesn't just apply to controlled substances and alcohol. It can also extend to legally obtained drugs and over-the-counter medications. Frequently abused drugs in the workplace include alcohol, prescription stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin, illegal stimulants like cocaine or methamphetamine, antidepressants, prescription sedatives, benzodiazepines like Ambien, Xanax, and Valium, herbal drugs, and opioids like heroin, hydrocodone, morphine, and oxycodone. All that being said, alcohol and drug abuse is estimated to have cost the U.S. over $400 billion in lost productivity, healthcare, and crime. Plus, 1/3 of all employees who die at work have a positive result when tested for drugs and alcohol. So there are a lot of risk factors for your organization. For example, abusers miss work. They're more likely to injure themselves and their coworkers. They file more workers' compensation claims, and they have lower productivity. These issues cost everyone. First, there are increases in direct expenses such as absenteeism, sick leave, tardiness, overtime, group health care, workers' comp and disability, and theft. But there are also indirect expenses from management time spent, problems between coworkers, damage to assets, poor decisions, reduced customer satisfaction, incidents of violence, and high personnel turnover. Plus, addicts miss 10 workdays for every one that's missed by other employees. They're only about 2/3 as productive as the average worker, and they generate 3 times the healthcare costs of average employees. So, how do you know if someone in your workplace is abusing substances? According to the U.S. Department of Labor, or DOL, these signs can be symptoms of substance abuse: inconsistent work quality, poor concentration, lowered productivity, increased absenteeism, unexplained disappearances from work, carelessness and mistakes, errors in judgment, needless risk-taking, disregard for safety, and extended lunch periods. Other common signs of substance abuse include bloodshot or glassy eyes, dilated pupils, slurred speech, extreme mood swings, paranoia, extreme exhaustion, severe and sudden lack of personal hygiene, and unusual behavior such as unsteady gait, hyperactivity, sudden weight loss, dental problems, and even wearing long sleeves on hot days. Now, it's extremely important to note that these signs do not guarantee that someone is abusing. They're just common signs that are often present. Some signs can even be confused with common illnesses. Keep in mind that one sign alone rarely proves anything. So, what can you do about workplace substance abuse? Well, this obviously isn't something you should handle on your own. So follow your organization's process for dealing with the issue and keep yourself informed on what your organization should be doing to appropriately respond to workplace substance abuse. For example, one tool that can have a significant positive impact is an Employee Assistance Program, or EAP. These are programs that offer counseling and assist in connecting employees with substance abuse problems to appropriate treatment programs. So, does your organization have an EAP? If it does, is it well publicized so that it can be utilized? And if it doesn't, consider taking the issue to HR so employees in your organization can get the help they need. Another tool every organization should utilize is a substance abuse policy, which should include a definition of substance and abuse, a statement of who is covered by the policy, a statement of the employee's rights to confidentiality, that employee education will be provided, that training and identifying impaired behavior will be provided to everyone in the organization, a provision for assisting substance users, an outline of how substance use and impairment will be addressed in the workplace, a provision for disciplinary actions, and, if necessary, a statement of under what circumstances drug or alcohol testing will be conducted. Now, keep in mind that there are many different classes of drugs, and they can all pose dangers to those who abuse them. The continued abuse of any addictive substances can lead to problems such as unemployment, family turmoil, physical complications, and psychiatric problems. The sooner that an individual ends their drug abuse, the more likely they are to fully recover. So do what you can to minimize workplace substance abuse in your organization. After all, this is more than a business problem. It's a people problem.
As a professional operator, every time you step on board a vehicle, you are responsible for the people you transport and the vehicles and people around you. We are committed to delivering safe, drug-free transportation, and our company has a zero-tolerance drug and alcohol policy that complies with federal regulations. As an employee performing safety-sensitive functions in the transportation industry, you are responsible for providing a safe work environment for your coworkers and the traveling public. The following 4 scenarios are considered safety-sensitive functions. Vehicle operations. Operation of a revenue service vehicle, even if the vehicle is not in revenue service. Operation of a non-revenue service vehicle when the operation of such a vehicle requires the driver to hold a CDL. This can also include volunteers. They are required to hold a CDL to operate a vehicle, and if the volunteer receives remuneration in excess of their actual expenses incurred while engaging in volunteer activity. Next is vehicle control, such as dispatching, controlling the movement of a vehicle. And finally, vehicle or equipment maintenance, maintaining, including repairs, overhaul, and rebuilding, a revenue service vehicle or equipment used in revenue service and armed security. Carrying a firearm for security purposes. If you perform any of those 4 functions on a daily basis or in an emergency situation, you are considered safety sensitive. It is not based on your job title. As such, you must take every precaution to maintain a safe environment, and strict adherence to the drug and alcohol policy is required. MB Transportation is committed to providing a safe, healthy, and drug-free working environment and wants to take this opportunity to remind employees about the importance of working drug-free for their safety and that of their coworkers. Keeping our worksite drug and alcohol free. Thank you.